One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, had sex with Barack Obama, and then used cocaine with him. Sinclair went on to make these claims publicly at the National Press Club in Washington, to sign a sworn affidavit, and to take a lie detector test. But he was dismissed. In fact, he was attacked. Obama shills like Ben Smith of Politico batted the claims out without refuting them. They're absurd. And the rest of the media followed.
Tucker Carlson, a man famously unshaken by scandal or spectacle, left momentarily stunned not by a rogue camera glitch or some on-set meltdown, but by a cascade of revelations so volatile they felt ripped straight from the screenplay of a geopolitical thriller. This wasn't your garden variety primetime news segment. No, this was something else entirely. A shift you could feel through the screen. The air in the studio turned electric, as the guest peeled back layers of what appeared to be a long-hidden narrative about none other than Barack Obama. The mood swung from tense to thunderstruck. Viewers expecting routine commentary found themselves instead clutching their seats. The broadcast took on the weight of a live exposé, its shockwaves echoing well beyond the confines of cable TV. This was not television. It was detonation.
Just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah. Pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort, and next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended.
Tucker Carlson has long been the torchbearer for stories most hosts wouldn't whisper in private, let alone say aloud on live television. He's a man who dives headfirst into political minefields with little regard for blowback. But even for someone seasoned in controversy, this episode marked uncharted territory. You could see it in his expression of flicker, then full awareness that he was in the midst of something seismic. This wasn't a political hot take or manufactured outrage crafted to spike ratings. This was different. This was a truth bomb. And Tucker, seasoned though he is, had stumbled upon something that not only stopped the show cold, but possibly rewrote part of America's recent political memory.
Claims weren't absurd. We're not claiming they're true, but they were certainly credible. This was a first-hand account of Barack Obama's behavior by someone who was willing to sign a sworn affidavit to that effect. So the question is, whatever happened to Larry Sinclair? What's his life been like since? That's an interesting story. It turns out Larry Sinclair is still alive. He lives in Mexico. But today, he's in...
Wasn't a performance, nor was it one of those overproduced, CABLE, showdowns. What unfolded felt raw, authentic. Tucker Carlson, typically calm even amid chaos, couldn't hide the surprise on his face as the interview took its turn. The guest, initially framed as a policy expert with standard Beltway credentials, swiftly pivoted into jaw-dropping terrain. What began as a polite, procedural dialogue quickly escalated into a narrative rupture, a blindside of allegations centered around Barack Obama, told not in vague insinuations, but with detail, confidence, and the quiet force of someone speaking from first-hand knowledge. And that's when the stakes changed.
Biden at the debate in 2007 announcing that Barack Obama had an AIDS test.
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
Oh, it's the funniest video ever. Biden said, "Well, I think AIDS is a real problem in the African American community.
And the community's engaged in denial.
I think we should all get AIDS tests. But Barack Obama had an AIDS test."
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
There's a cutaway of Obama being like, "I hate you."
It's an important thing.
Long heralded as a figure of inspiration and poises legacy polished to near mythological sheen, suddenly found himself at the center of a storm that had nothing to do with partisan caricatures or recycled conspiracy tropes. This wasn't about birth certificates or teleprompters. This was about deeply embedded arrangements, back-channel diplomacy, and covert relationships that stretched from the White House to global strongholds. Carlson's program, often used to stir controversy, now became something else entirely, a platform for what felt like a live unraveling. It wasn't the usual media grudge match. It was a surgical strike, clean, clinical, devastating in implication.
Normal life, your marriage is the core of everything. A happy marriage produces happy people and happy children. And I just don't think she spent a lot of time on that. I mean, she really dislikes her husband. Super obvious. I'm not just saying that to be catty. I think I'm trying to feel compassion for her, but her hostility toward the guy is like unbelievable. And it's been
Everything
obvious
she says is negative.
about him.
I mean,
for
how
sure,
long have we known each other?
2007.
I can't even think of one negative comment you've ever made about Susie. I almost never say negative
Well,
things.
Critics accused Carlson of chasing ghosts, digging into shadows with little to show. But what this guest dropped wasn't fog, it was fire. No baseless conjecture. No circumstantial fluff. The revelations came stacked and structured like a classified dossier: names, timelines, agendas, foreign entities, secretive investments, veiled deals, and all of it tied, according to the source, to a larger strategy that recast Obama not as a symbol of hope and change, but as a master tactician orchestrating moves with a long view few had ever considered. It didn't feel like an interview. It felt like a live debriefing. Tucker, to his credit, let it breathe. He listened, he prodded, and as he did, what had been a controlled studio environment transformed into something almost cinematic, unfiltered, electric, impossible to
Barack Obama.
It was by accident. I was in the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah. That's
what you really said.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party. And
Did you make that clear to the driver?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there was no misunderstanding.
How direct were you about it?
Extremely.
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 Okay.
Yeah, there was no doubt what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurney and drove into Chicago.
found themselves in a new terrain. This wasn't commentary, it was confrontation. The claim struck hard. Post-presidency, Obama wasn't simply coasting through memoir tours and podcast chats. According to the guest, he was positioning. Whether through undisclosed international holdings or tech industry stakeouts, this version of Obama was more strategist than statesman. Healthcare. No longer just legacy, it was leverage. The Affordable Care Act, the signature domestic triumph, was reframed not just as moral policy but as a power grid connecting allies, bolstering influence, embedding favors. Then came the foreign revelations. While the public saw warm smiles and choreographed diplomacy, behind the curtain was something far more transactional. Clandestine meetings, strategic concessions, shadow alliances. It wasn't diplomacy. It was realpolitik with a Hollywood smile.
Who call themselves public servants, which of course is ridiculous, they're not, but still, they don't even have to pretend to keep up a facade of that. Like,
Exactly.
You get to live in this insane, like, mansion because you were president and you get to cash in on that now?
In a white neighborhood, you should be
Yeah, right.
required to live in the
Well-
hood if you're Barack Obama and
If you're using that card,
you
yeah.
use that card.
Yeah.
The only reason you got elected was because of your race. You spent your entire 8 years inflaming race hate in our country, and then you go to Martha's Vineyard, the whitest zip code in the world. Not allowed.
Yeah.
You're not allowed.
Of Obama wasn't giving speeches, he was making trades. According to the account, handshakes in daylight were balanced by backroom promises inked in whispers. It wasn't global unity, it was selective alignment. Some of the alliances mentioned weren't just politically inconvenient, they were outright alarming. The sort of deals you'd expect in espionage fiction, not White House press briefings. Yet the guest didn't just rattle off names or rumors, he mapped it out. There was precision. There was strategy. Obama's charisma still intact. But behind it, said the insider, was a calculus that valued optics as much as outcomes. In this telling, the presidency wasn't just performance, it was projection. Managing not just politics, but perception.
He's odd. There's no question about it. He's odd. I think what he does is very important for the most part. Like some of the stuff is like when he found the dude who Obama. Like, yo, what are you doing here? Even if he did, who cares? I kind of want to know, but who cares? I mean, I'm kind of happy he did it. That's big news.
The perception, it seemed, had been curated from day one. Carefully managed leaks, strategic silence, a narrative so airtight it had withstood years of scrutiny until now. To Tucker's credit, he didn't hijack the moment. He let it land. You could see it, the gears turning. His trademark smirk, replaced with something closer to awe. He questioned, yes, but not to undermine. He wanted clarity. He wanted facts, and the guest it was a revelation in stages. A deconstruction of a presidency, brick by rhetorical brick. Carlson did what real journalists do when hit with something world-altering. He got out of the way and let the story breathe. And in doing so, he handed his audience something rare: truth unwrapped, jagged, and unrelenting. Next.
The house. And I was angry about it, even though I didn't necessarily realize it at the time. I made bad choices. I got high without always thinking about the harm.
Aftershock was immediate. Social media lit up like a war zone. The left scrambled, attacking the source, the timing, the intent, the right. They cheered. Memes, think pieces, dueling hashtags. Every platform turned into a battlefield. But the noise couldn't drown out the signal. The conversation had irrevocably changed. Obama's once bulletproof legacy was now a canvas with cracks. And Carlson, he didn't claim victory. He didn't spike the football. He let the silence do the talking. No theatrics, no gloating, just the footage, the words, the truth broadcast raw. In a media world saturated with spin, this cut through like a scalpel. And as institutions scrambled to regain control of the narrative, one truth remained immovable. The shift had happened. Eyes opened. Minds questioned. Narratives, once gospeled, now stood exposed. The mythos of Obama had been punctured not by smear, but by story. And Carlson, he's not done. He's burrowing deeper, connecting dots. Preparing, perhaps, the next strike. Because in this unfolding political thriller, the popcorn isn't just for the audience anymore. We're not just watching the story, we're part of it now. And no one, not even Obama, is off.
Barack Obama.
It was by accident. I was in the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah. That's
what you really said.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party. And
Did you make that clear to the driver?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there was no misunderstanding.
How direct were you about it?
Extremely.
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 Okay.
Yeah, there was no doubt what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurnee and drove into Chicago.
Of Obama wasn't giving speeches, he was making trades. According to the account, handshakes in daylight were balanced by backroom promises inked in whispers. It wasn't global unity, it was selective alignment. Some of the alliances mentioned weren't just politically inconvenient, they were outright alarming. The sort of deals you'd expect in espionage fiction, not White House press briefings. Yet the guests didn't just rattle off names or rumors, he mapped it out. There was precision. There was strategy. Obama's charisma still intact. But behind it, said the insider, was a calculus that valued optics as much as outcomes. In this telling, the presidency wasn't just performance, it was projection. Managing not just politics but